all tankers, welcome back to my videos. I'm wot Blitz, and today I'm going over the T-22 medium, this being a tier 10 Russian collector vehicle. It has just hit the stores this morning, and I was really surprised when I saw this little picture pop up on my screen that said T-22 crates now available. I was like, what? This used to be the most rare vehicle to find pretty much at tier 10. They hadn't sold it at all since the Blitz fair. And they finally released the crates for it. Unfortunately, they are in crates, and I'll get into that a little bit after I get into the statistics of this vehicle. But as always, I'll go over these statistics first, then I'll get into the armor and whether or not this vehicle is worth it. And starting off, this tank has a fairly healthy amount of hit points at 1,850, and I do run the hit point buff, bringing it up to 1,965. Which means you pretty much have the same hit points as, a stock standard tier 10 heavy tank, which isn't really that bad. You're able to at least receive some hits, and with this tank, bounce some hits. Now, this tank also has an okay view range at 302 meters. That's not great, but it's not awful. But this tank isn't meant to spot, really. It's just a Russian standard medium. Now, the firepower, this tank is 3,506 damage per minute, which is ridiculous. It's not as much as a Object 140 and a 62A, but it's still a ridiculous amount. You're able to output it just so quickly. You can see I'm just going to keep tapping the C50M over and over. This tank also has very poor penetration. That is one of the balancing factors, is the penetration on its standard rounds are only 240, and the premium rounds are still pretty lackluster, only sitting at around 300 millimeters thick. Which means you're really not going to be able to penetrate that much if, anybody's angling up their angles correctly. Now, you can run calibrated. However, I'm not actually running calibrated on this tank because I really just like to maximize that damage per minute I can pull out. Now, the shell velocity is actually one big killer for me on this vehicle. Shell velocity is only 1,015 on this. Now, just to give you a comparison, the 62A is sitting at around 1,500 shell velocity, which is about 50% better. So that is one of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of the shell velocity. However, you can see that Foch just bounced us right in the side because this tank is just so ridiculous on the hull armor it has. This tank it's so ridiculous. This tank also has great aiming time at only 2.8 seconds, 2.08, and the dispersion is pretty good at 0.308 as well. And the dispersion factors while moving the turret are just excellent. You can see 0.1 when moving the tank, and 0.1 also when rotating the turret and rotating the gun. It's really just ridiculous how good that aiming time is. You can see it really just, the gun never gets large. Now, one of the good things about this tank is 6 degrees of gun depression. Now, you may be like, well, that's terrible. My Leopard has 9 degrees, and then 60 has 10. But what you're forgetting is this is a Russian medium, and a Russian medium that has very overpowered armor. And when you combine that with more gun depression than the 62A has, even though this tank also has a very well-armored turret, it kind of makes this tank seem a little overpowered. It has also decent gun elevation at 16 degrees, and the turret traverse speed is 48.60 degrees a second. Now, this tank is very light. It only weighs 36 tons, which is very surprising judging how much armor and how many bounces it can pull out. This tank is also pretty quick at 55 forwards and 20 backwards, very quick reverse speed, which is nice for being able to ricochet shells. And the effective power to weight ratio is 19.86, which isn't spectacular, but it's also by no means bad. The traverse speed on this tank is 60.75, and when you add that with the turret traverse speed of 48.60, you pretty much get about 110. You can turn this tank pretty much almost instantly on anybody trying to flank you. And the concealment is 30%, which is also a very nice concealment, but it is a Russian tank, as you guys do know. Now, finishing this battle off, it was a pretty fun battle, pretty quick. I just pulled this off this morning, 3,858 damage. We did pick up some credits, but I'm running premium because I managed to pick up the TOG, and I got 30 days of premium with that. Normally, you would lose credits if you're not running a premium account. However, if you do pick this tank up in a crate and you don't get lucky, to be honest, the amount of money you spent trying to get this tank, you probably could have bought in 2 years worth of premium. However, let's get stuck into the second replay. Now, real quick before I do get into my opinion over this tank, I'm going to show you guys the armor profile, as I normally do for very well armored tanks, and boy does this tank have an overpowered armor profile. Now you can see the front, it is this weird shaped looking triangle. You're like, well, that doesn't look right. But yes, that is actually how the hull looks. It's this weird triangle, and you can see that all of the shells that hit the edge of that triangle are pretty much auto ricochets. You can't penetrate that. So, and the turret, as you can see also, is pretty much impenetrable. So the only spot you can penetrate is actually the front plates. That is the weakest part. And if you look at the lower plate, it's still 240 thick. It's very thick at the lower plate. Upper plate's still sitting at around, 207, 200 millimeters thick. The whole tank is just ridiculously armored. And, if you're aiming dead on at someone with this tank, you're actually playing it wrong. You usually want to show them your sides. You can see even at an angle as steep as this, you can still manage to ricochet 80% of the shells fired at you unless people are shooting heat. It's just so thick on the sides. Now, another thing you can do with this tank is you can actually reverse side scrape it. You can see here, if you just manage to stick this tank behind a building or something and you use that gun correctly, you can make the whole front of that tank pretty much impenetrable. The only part you could penetrate would be that back. But you can see you can just stick that gun over the corner and the sides are still pretty much impenetrable. The turret is ridiculously thick. This tank is just a blast all over. It is just really, really overpowered. And the thing that makes it overpowered is it's pretty much you got an IS-7, an Object 140, and then you had a 62A, and you combined all three together. That is what you would get, and it really just kind of dominates some medium tanks. I really don't even like to run this tank that much because it's so good. You can see that reload. I'm just able to pound shell after shell into that 62A. And this tank's got such ridiculous armor, he bounces a heat round right off the front. There you go, the Centurion bounces his round off me. I can't shoot the 62A, no problem, I'll shoot the Centurion. We ricochet 640 from that, what was that? That was an E3 we ricochet. We're ricocheting just shells one after another. We've already blocked 1,500 damage, shooting H-E to the rear, and we've already picked up 2,400 damage in total. You can see this tank is just a beast. 2,600 damage now. It just racks up so much damage so quickly. And it's really just ridiculous how overpowered this thing is, and that Wargaming would even think about selling it and just being able to pay to win pretty much. And not even that, but even if you're a good player and you just want to pick this tank up, or you're like me and you like to collect the vehicles, the other issue is in crates. Now, it does have a 5% drop chance. You'd be like, well, I have a much better chance than the Badger was. The Badger was sitting at 1%, and that's why I never managed to pick it up. But also, the 5% drop chance, it's $10 a crate, which means that 5 crates is $50. So if you technically want to even get close to having a chance, you have to spend at least, $200, $300 to have an 80% chance to pick up this tank. So it is quite ridiculous how how bad your chances are of picking up this tank. They may seem good, but trust me, Wargaming knows the numbers. They have their odds in their favor, and you're probably going to end up spending at least $150 to pick this thing up, and that's at least. But you can see it's so overpowered, and that's the issue, is that some players are going to spend so much money trying to get this tank because people like me and these big YouTubers are going to make a video saying it's overpowered, which it is. And bad players want to have an overpowered pay-to-win tank, so they will spend maybe $1,000, to be honest, trying to get this tank. I know people that will spend thousands of dollars trying to just pick up this one tank because it's that broken. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and as always, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to join the Discord. I'll have the link in the description down below. I hope you guys did enjoy this. Thanks for watching.